Greetings, metallurgists. Marty Worm is back again with another review. This time, it's a triple threat review. We have 3 albums that are coming out on the long-standing Italian label called Avantgarde Music. All 3 of these records are coming out on the 31st of January, and they are an eclectic blend of black metal styles. So if you want to find out about something new, stick around and we'll get to the bottom of it.
In the gloom of the rose, in my figure shadowed wings, tormentor of waking dreams, forgets her sorrow and death she sings, in the storm of blackness.
First order of business this evening is the band Skaldr with the album Samsr. This is coming out on the 31st of January via Avantgarde Music. It's a 42-minute long album, and for those who have never heard of the band, like myself, I have never heard of this band before. Skaldr was formed in 2017 in Virginia, and Samsr is the band's second full-length album. Perusing the bio information that came along with this release, there is a quote saying that Samsr is drawing inspiration from bands like Dawn, Dissection, and Vindir. And on paper, those are 3 amazing bands, and I was very excited to check this out. And needless to say, the description is quite apt. It is almost to the T a great combination of those 3 bands is what I heard on Samsr. To sum up this band's style, you've got soaring tremolo melody lines, precision blast beats, minor folk influences in the guitar work. I mean, Skaldr sounds infinitely more Scandinavian than American, especially in those melody lines. The twin guitar lines that sync up, it really puts you in mind of Dissection in particular. Before we get into the music, the production should be mentioned first, as Samsr is a very full and organic sounding album. It was recorded at Treppen Studios and mixed and mastered by Dan Swano at Unisound Studio. And there is a clarity between all the instruments, and the vocals sit exactly where they need to in the mix this time around. With all the melody, acoustic instrumentation, and even bass lines that cut through as on the track From Depth to Dark, the mix and sound gives off an organic warmth that really helps empower the weight found within this material. And without any sort of distraction in the sound field, no digital clicking, no fake sounding drums, no washed out guitar tone. It was really easy to absorb these songs on first listen. Firing off the album with The Sum of All Loss, Skaldr wastes no time firing off the album with blast beats and a soaring tremolo melody line, full of harmonic maturity and passion. As the track unfolds, there's a 6/8 time signature that offers moments of triumph and keeps the track flowing with varied emotion, which is something that is done very well throughout the bulk of this album. The bassist / vocalist Carrie Vaughn, who did a little bit of time as a session live musician for Sacramentum and a few other bands, he capitalizes on this emotion and stays within the grim framework of screaming. His performance is excellent and full of interesting phrases as he strives to keep vocal lines from following the musical lines too closely. This is a great lead-off track that really sets the stage for the rest of this album to unfold.
What is mine must fall, to swallow all fate, creation's dead careless to promise and pain.
Next up, Storm's Collapse. This is perhaps my favorite song on the album. It begins with an acoustic guitar and flute accompanied instrumental. The mood that those 2 instruments together and the way they're played, it really sets an ancient feeling for the track to unfold, and it really lays the groundwork for a very vibrant track. The melody lines in this track are super explosive and at times playful thanks to this folk influence that they have at the core of their sound. It really enhances the riff work and gives them a very hooky characteristic to help them stick in your brain. The chorus on this song is fantastic, and they revert back to it numerous times to really drive it home and make it instantly memorable. From blasting speed to a more of a plotting and tribal breakdown in the middle of the song, this track offers a wide range of emotion, which again is another element that the band is very effective at working into their music. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of building up and taking down. It kind of takes the listener on this journey throughout the whole thing. I love how they ended the track on that powerful chorus to put an exclamation point on an already mighty sentence. overall spirit and song construction of the next track, Parasite, it feels like it could have been on Storm of the Light's Bane, for instance, with its similar chord progressions, blasting style, and use of twin guitar melody lines over the blasting beats. And by adding more of a crunchy thrash riff within the track, it breaks the song up a bit and makes it stand out from the rest of the tracks on the album, which is a nice touch. Even though the vocal style on this whole album is very consistent, just a very raw, harsh black metal style screaming, but you can understand what he's saying here. They do step out of this, starting on the song Parasite, with a bit of more layered choir-like chanting, which is something they do return to later on in the album one time. I mean, along with all the other tracks on this album, Parasite is another expertly crafted song, and they're wearing their influences on their sleeve here, not even trying to hide it. Diving into the rest of the album, about the midway point, you have the song Liminal, which is basically an acoustic instrumental. It adds a bit of class and culture to the album and kind of paces the record like a good dissection album. Sailing into the very end of the album, we got two songs, The Crossing and The Cinder, The Flame, The Sun. Both of these are over the 7-minute mark and end out the album with a bit more of a spacious structure. The riff work feels a bit more stripped down, but remain highly welcoming to any melody that may enter the tracks. Skaldr's dissection influence becomes even more apparent during these tracks. Think Unhallowed or Soul Reaper for speed and melodically bloated atmosphere. I mean, Skaldr, at the end of the day, I've never heard of this band, and I didn't think they were American when I hit play on this promo, which is no big deal, really. But how Scandinavian and how they wear those influences on their sleeve, it adds a feeling of nostalgia, and it really made this album very inviting. Not only that, but how well the album is constructed. The songwriting is excellent. The production is excellent. This is really a great band, and it's a great album, and you should definitely get it. I know I'm going to. Next up, we have Void of Hope with Proof of Existence. Again, this is coming out on January 31st via Avantgarde Music. So Void of Hope. This is the debut full-length from the supergroup, and they include members from Moonlight Sorcery and Anthropic, and consider themselves influenced by bands like Grease, Silencer, Life Lover, Cold World, and Austere. First couple listens through this, I didn't really pick up on those influences, other than maybe vocally, because the vocals are very wretched and screamed and miserable, kind of like the singer was in Life Lover. But multiple listens, you can tell the Cold World especially. I heard a lot of Cold World in here. There's like a droning sadness that permeates from this album, which is very plotting and spacious. It's full of melancholy by way of dissonant riff work and a razor-sharp wash of melody. So add tortured and harshly screamed singing style to the mix, and the results may be kind of well-tread territory for DSBM-styled black metal, which is depressive, suicidal black metal. But everything here perfectly complements each other for an album full of emotional impact that feels authentic. So apparently the band got together and they wrote and recorded this album in 5 days. That seems pretty impressive to me, judging how good most of this stuff is. And then they came back later in 2 days, recorded all the vocals. So the lion's share of the songs and the recording all happened in a week, which is kind of mind-blowing how productive this session was. It kind of seems like a rushed type of session. And there are moments on this album where that kind of becomes evident in the repetition and some of the choices they made. But for the most part, this is a really well-considered album considering how it was made. So starting off the album with Gift of Life, it starts off the procession with a dreary dissonance. It's like you're waking from a fever dream and you can't really decide if eternal sleep or the challenge of another day on this earth is the correct path to choose. So emotionally, this band keeps you guessing and kind of takes you on a roller coaster of emotions for sure. The song starts off with a long piano intro, and there's kind of a long loping metal passage as well, but it's very melodically dissonant. And when those agonizing screams finally erupt in the song, you instantly take note and feel every strand of misery. The song ranges from slow and tortured to quicker moments in the drum work to keep this song interesting and poised to overtake you with emotion. Proof of Existence is next, and it features a simplistic beat and droning down-picked riff that goes on a bit too long. And then it kind of cascades off into a harmonically noisy riff. Again, this is all, there's no vocals yet. It's just kind of a lot of simplistic droning riffs. It isn't until the halfway point of this song that we finally get those agonized vocals. They come in, and all the simplistic elements that have been sort of introduced in the song previously, they all congeal together and work well as one. And this layered style really suits the band well. I'm not really sure if the band's attempt at simplistic and hypnotic musical ideas worked in this case. They kind of go on for far too long, and the riffs really don't warrant that. But the song really gets good when the blast beats and a buried piano line congeal into something very exciting. You really just have to be patient with this song and wait until you get to the payoff. But there is one, and it shows that there's a lot of good ideas on display. The Howling Hymn is next, and at over 11 minutes long, this track is the longest song on Proof of Existence. And like the tracks before it, it takes a while before we get to the heart and soul of the song. They do a lot of wandering and screwing around before they get to the point. Void of Hope are masters at layering and can write a powerful track, but their lead up to the good stuff may have you looking at your watch, wondering what the hell's going on, when are we going to get to the song, in anticipation of what's to come. Though this track isn't the best song on the album, the middle of the song is yet again well considered and put together. Unfortunately, Void of Hope can wander off the mark in an attempt to pad out a track, and this could be again due to how quickly everything was written. I'm all for the repetition of riffs if the riff warrants such a long phrase and has the impact and is structured in a way that it can become hypnotic if played a lot of the time. But in this case, a lot of these riffs don't warrant 4 minutes of repetition. Having said that, the track TETL gets right into the misery with blasting black metal riffs and vocals, which come in after a measure or two. More frantic guitar lines seep into the madness here, and it makes the track feel so urgent. Simplistic synth lines come in and offer a lot of mood as well to heighten the atmosphere this band is quite good at summoning, actually. I love the synth music break in the middle of the track and how the band flows back into the metal before closing it out. There's a solid chunk of this song that plays out to be one of the best moments on this album, even though the song as a whole isn't perfect. So the album ends on a rather flat note with the track called Decaying Years. You've got piano, drums, and some minor narration that prattle on for seemingly ever. The final moments of the track introduce soaring guitar lines and made me wonder why they didn't get to this earlier and really build upon it. And that's really kind of where I'm at with this album. I listened to this album enough and really like the mood, and I like a lot of the music ideas on here that are going to make me want to buy the record. But as a whole, there's elements of this record that feel very underprepared. And it is evident they did it all in 5 days from concept to completion in 5 days. If they spent a little bit more time nurturing these songs, building them up, adding more avenues of construction, I think this album would have been even better. But it's a great sounding. It's got the right depressive vibe that I typically gravitate towards in this style of black metal. And I'm probably going to buy this one. I really have enjoyed it. All right, we're going to end out this review with Mesarthim, Anthropic Bias/Departure, which coming out January 31st via Avantgarde Music. For those of you not in the know on this band, Mesarthim is an anonymous Australian duo that has been traversing the cosmos since 2015 and have 6 full-length albums along with many, many EPs. Anthropic Bias and Departure are 2 such EPs that were only released digitally via the band's Bandcamp, and Avantgarde Music has put these 2 entities together and stepped in to give them a wider release, which it rightfully deserves. This is one of those bands that you go to their Bandcamp and you're overwhelmed by all the stuff that's on there. I own 3 of their records on vinyl, and I gotta say they are one of the more original and exciting and interesting to listen to bands in the black metal world. So what is it? I mean, harsh black metal at its core, mixed with dominant trance and techno elements. I know all three of those on the same line sound really horrible, but somehow it works. It works really well. This really could sit within the realm of the band Dark Space, but Mesarthim are far more layered at times and electronically proficient and gifted, in my opinion. I really always like the mix that this band provides because it feels so out of left field. It's interesting, innovative, and endlessly brave. They really mix these styles together so well. So we're starting off with Anthropic Bias. This track is around 17-minute mark, a little bit over. It's a wealth of evolution and inspired expression. Black metal, of course, is the core foundation with dissonant riffing and harsh vocals. The drums sound real or like conventional metal drums. I'm sure this is probably a Superior drummer or something like that program, but the band made sure to keep them sounding traditional in light of all the other electronics swirling about. The other half of this band's style is the unashamed electronics, punchy synth bass lines, Morse code type beeps emerging from space, techno synth lines sweep in and out of the guitar work. When the black metal pauses, the techno side takes over and rises to the forefront and is so perfectly constructed it doesn't feel awkward or false. When the metal kicks back in, all elements intertwine seamlessly into a completely new subgenre. They did it better than Mysticum on Planet Satan. They did it better and with more authenticity than Dodheim's Guard at their most electronic. My opinion, of course. Hell, Mesarthim stands alone in this realm. They come at all of these styles with so much know-how and conviction. It doesn't sound prefab or strange. It works so organically together. Next up is Departure. Departure is the track over 19 minutes and veers off into a very different frame of mind to the electronically expansive Anthropic Bias. Departure features harsh/melodic black metal elevated by a shoegaze dreariness. A lot of reverb here, sad, jangly guitar harmonies. The union of styles is very complementing to each other, and the lilting synth lines make the listener feel like they're adrift on a cosmic cloud. This dense and melodically wonderful style, it has a strong sense of sadness attached to it. And at the halfway point of the song, it kind of falls away and strips back down to an electronic framework with a pulsating beat, voice samples, and no guitars or black metal or shoegaze in sight. This exploration of electronic sound even changes the mood to feel a bit more positive. Then the guitars, drums, and black metal vocals come back in to reunite all the styles and finish on a highly triumphant and atmospheric note. I've always felt that this project is amazing. No one talks about Mesarthim. They seem to be one of those toiling away in obscurity type of mad scientist bands. But I see them as so endlessly inventive. I can also understand why it could be a turnoff for some black metal purists, due to all the electronic, the danciness, the trance elements. But there's really no other band out there like this that is doing something so fresh and entertaining, while not venturing too far into madness so that it's unlistenable, which is what happens. A lot of bands that really get super creative, they do too much. It becomes so avant-garde. It becomes more of an art piece than something anybody wants to really listen to. So if you're into more adventurous types of musical styles and you like electronic music as well as black metal, I would highly recommend this release coming out on Avantgarde Music. So that's it, friends. 3 new releases coming out on the 31st for you to check out. And if you're an adventurous black metal connoisseur, I think there is a lot all of these bands offer that could appeal to you and your tastes. But yeah, that's it for me this time. We'll be back soon here on Heavy Metallurgy with more reviews, lots more reviews. We'll have more live streams, more album clubs, and of course, more metal. See you around next time. Until then, take care. Cheers.